retired for the evening. The father had gone upstairs and had tucked his young son in bed and gone downstairs and retired to his bed, sleeping as well as parents sleep. And in the middle of the night, the fire alarm went off and began screeching and woke the whole family up. As the father made his way out into the hallway, he could see that flames had already engulfed the top of the stairs, and there was no way that he could get to his son. So instead of trying to go up the stairs, he ran outside and went to the boy's window. And when he looked up, even though smoke was bellowing out of the house and it was hard to see, he could see that the boy had opened the window and had climbed halfway out and was holding on to escape the smoke. Now the young boy sat there scared, as all of us would be, and the father yelled up to him, "Son, jump. Let go and jump, and I'll catch you." And the boy yelled back, "But I can't see you. I can't see where you are." He said, "It doesn't matter. I can see you. So jump, and I'll catch you." And the boy did. And he caught him. You know, I wonder how many times our Father in heaven tells us to jump. And we say, I can't see you. I don't know where you're taking me. This is unfamiliar ground. This is an unfamiliar place. How many times are we called by our Father and yet fail to jump? You know, faith is a belief or a trust or a confidence in things that are unseen, right? And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're talking about Abraham and Sarah and their faith and where it took them. But faith is a hard thing to really put our minds around sometimes, the seeing and believing in things that are unknown. Well, I take that back. Maybe I should say faith in God is a hard thing to wrap our minds around and to bring into our daily lives. You see, because we exhibit faith on an everyday basis. Faith sometimes that is in things such as alarm clocks, right? We set our alarm clocks, I push some buttons and every morning I have a confidence, I have a trust, I have faith that that thing is going to go off for whatever time I've set it for, and it's going to wake me up, right? So I put my faith in this device, whether it's your phone, a lot of people use their phones for alarms now, or it's the thing next to your bed or across the room, because you know that when it's next to your bed, you just hit it and go back to sleep, so you have to set it across the room, right? But we have a faith in that, right? That's going to wake us up. I don't know how it does it, but every morning it does it. Wow, it's just amazing. It wakes me up. Sometimes I wish it didn't, right? We put our faith in things like that, right? We put our faith in electricity. You know, every day I get up and I go into the restroom next to where our bedroom is, and I flip the switch and cut the light on. And I just have all the faith in the world that light's going to come on, right? I put my confidence in that electricity that I can't see, and I surely don't understand how it works, but I just know that if I flip that switch, there's supposed to be light, right? So I put my faith in that. I put my confidence in that. It's a different kind of faith and confidence. Airplanes. Jay, when you go up in an airplane, you put your confidence, your faith in that engine's going to keep working, don't you? Now when he's in the air and he's flying, he's gliding around like a bird up there, that he has the confidence that engine is going to keep working, right? And it's going to get him back safely. He's put some confidence in that thing, right? I heard, and I was going to ask you about it, I heard Ken Davis one time said that propellers on planes actually don't make the plane go. That is actually, the propellers on the planes are actually fans for the pilot. And that when he said, if you don't believe me, he said, watch. He said, when they stop in midair, he said, you'll see sweat just start pouring off the pilot. That's true? That's true? Okay, I just want to get that. I just want to get that confirmed. But so we put our faith in things. We put our faith in people, don't we? Sometimes we trust in people, and sometimes they what? They disappoint, right? Yeah. Think of all those people who gave their money to Madoff, the Ponzi scheme guy, and lost. They trusted in him. He was going to make them a lot of money, and all of a sudden, Bernie Madoff, that was it. And boom, all their money's gone, right? So it's easy for a lot of us to put our faith or our trust, our confidence in things, people, machines, but they fail us, don't they? Engines definitely will stop running at some point. Hopefully not while you're in the air. Alarm clocks have definitely failed to go off. I know, because when I used to be a manager at Lowe's, people would come in and say, my alarm clock just didn't go on. And I believe that they're honest people, right? It just didn't go on. So alarm clocks sometimes don't do the things we ask them to do, right? And people will definitely let us down, right? Sometimes they don't mean to, but they do. So we put our faith in a lot of things that are fallible. But how is it that we have such a hard time putting our faith into an unfallible God? Right? A God that won't fail us, who promises to always be with us, who's always looking out for our best interests, who has a plan for your life and my life and our lives together. How come it is that we have a hard time stepping out in faith with that God and just totally trusting Him? Billy had a good Sunday school lesson this morning. He was talking about a song I loved by Carrie Underwood, Jesus Take the Wheel. That's a great song. I'm assuming most of you have heard that. It came out in 2005, 2006, I think, somewhere back in there. But that's a great song. It's Jesus Take the Wheel. I can't do this on my own. And, a lot of times we get to that desperate point and we ask God to help us out. But what if we just asked Him to help us out before we got into a desperate spot? What if we just let Him drive from the get-go instead of trying to handle the wheel in the middle of a catastrophe? Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be neat if we pray for God's guidance every day in our lives? Just take me where you want to take me, and no matter where that is, I'm going to go. I know I can't see it. I'm not sure where it is, but I'm trusting that you have my best interest at heart, and I'm going to go there. God called Abraham and Sarah to go to a country. They didn't know where it was. They just packed up their stuff and left. How many of us would have answered that call? How many of us would have packed up and moved to somewhere strange, unbeknownst to us, some wilderness like West Virginia or something? Sorry, Charlie. West Virginia or somewhere like that, somewhere we don't know anything about it. But how many of us, in all seriousness, would even take that call? We'd be like, let that go. That's God. Let it go to voicemail. He's probably got something for me to do, and I just don't have time because I'm so busy with my life and managing my life and doing things that make me happy. And I know that's what He wants anyway, so I'm just going to keep doing that. I don't need to talk to God. I don't need to consult God to find out what He wants me to do. I know I'm just happy, and that's the way life's supposed to be, and life's good. How many of us would let it go to voicemail, right? If we had caller ID and we picked up our phone, God's calling. Cut that ringer off. As a matter of fact, that'd be a good time to charge the phone. Let's go put it away, right? But how many of us would? In all seriousness. Or how many of us would answer that call? How many of us would say, here I am, God, what do you want to do? Where are we going today? What do you got for me today? Mission impossible. What do you got for me today? Where are we going? And how many of us want to hear that? I think God has a message for all of us, and He calls us all to do something. Sometimes it's big, and sometimes it's small, but He calls us all to do something. He calls us to do something because when He calls us to do something, it requires us to do something, doesn't it? It requires us to exhibit faith, right? To step out in faith, to do something, to go somewhere where you don't know how it's going to end up. That's what Abraham did. And Sarah did. They packed up all their stuff and they moved. They went. It required action. It required a first step, didn't it? Faith requires a first step. It exhibits that you trust in God. Steve Harvey, I'm sure most of you know who Steve Harvey is on TV and stuff. He had a video out not too long ago on Jump. Yeah, Jump. That's it. You saw it. And he was talking about, but the most successful people that you see in life have at some point in their life had to jump. In other words, imagine you're standing on a cliff, and to be successful, what you have to do is, basically he was talking about paragliding, I believe. He said you have to jump off the cliff. You'll never know if that chute will work until you jump, right? He said, so he kind of insinuated if you want to be successful, if you want to get somewhere in life, you're going to have to take risks. You're going to have to jump. You're going to have to trust in that parachute, which is a great analogy. And I think our God calls us to jump as well. Only I don't think that he guarantees us success like what Steve was talking about, because success is judged by world standards, not so much by God's standards, right? There's two different types of success in reality. I don't know that he promises you success. He says, well, you mean if I step out, I'm going to be successful, whatever I venture. No, I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that. I said, but what you will be is victorious. You see, when you trust God in any segment, any portion of your life, when you're willing to step out in faith in any part of your life and say, God, I'm just trusting you in this. I don't know how it's going to end up. I don't know where you're taking me, but I'm just trusting in you. This is where you've directed my life, and I'm moving in that direction, and I just know that I'm going to end up where you want me to be. Then you'll be victorious. You see, the victory comes in the first step. It doesn't come in the destination. The victory comes in trusting. You know, I can tell you from experience, I've had to step out in faith many times in my life. I've had to step out in faith and just trust God blindly and say, okay, this is where you want me to go, and you're going to work it out. I have no idea how to get there. Or, it's like being lost in the desert with no map. And that's where I was. And I just trust in God. Point me in the right direction. I mean, how did he get me to Ledbetter? I mean, come on, seriously. I mean, nobody knows where Ledbetter's at. You say, I preach at Ledbetter. Where's that? Well, you go. Never mind. He always gets me where I'm supposed to be, though. You see that? He doesn't always get me where I want to be, but he gets me where I'm supposed to be. You see the difference? He gets me where he wants me to be for my life. And in being there, I'm already victorious. Not that I haven't arrived there, but that I had enough faith to go there. That I had enough faith to step out. That I had enough faith to say, yeah, I'll go wherever you want me to go. I don't care. It doesn't matter. If you've told me to go there, then I'm going, and that's the first step, and I'm victorious. When you look back at the people in the Bible, the people who exhibited great faith, they weren't always immediately successful. A lot of them were eventually successful. But their victory came in the first step. Because their relationship with God was so enhanced by their trusting and showing faith in God. Abraham's victory came in the first step towards Canaan, not when he arrived there. Because he had trusted God. God had given him the victory. David's victory came not when he launched the stone with his slingshot and killed Goliath, but when he went down by the riverbed and picked up the first stone. That was his victory. The victory was already won. He had already put his trust in God and was already going where God wanted him to go. Right? That's the victory. The victory is in the relationship between you and God. And how it's enhanced when you put your trust in him, and time and time and time again, what he'll do is he'll deliver. Because he's promised never to leave you. His plans are never to harm you. His plans are to prosper you. His plans are to get you where you need to be. And if you put your trust in God, he'll always make you victorious. It may not be the success, or it may not be the place you want it to be, but it will always be where he wants you to be. And in that you'll be victorious. It's just like a relationship with another person. When you put your trust, when you go through things together, and you experience it, you come out the other side, your relationship has been what? Enhanced, has it not? It has been expanded, has it not? That you know now that I can go to jail with Jay, and he's going to watch my back and I'll watch his, and we're all going to be good, whatever it is. But once we go through an experience together, our relationship has been expanded. Right? And it's the same thing with God. The more you trust Him with, the more you go through together, and you come out the other side and you're like, that was interesting. Your relationship is enhanced. Your relationship has been expanded. But to do that, you not only have to be able to answer the call, but you have to be faithful to the call. That means you have to show up every day. Right? It means if God's called you to something, and I don't know what He's called you to, but if He's called you to something, whatever that is, and whatever that direction is, you show up and you're faithful every day. God shows up and is faithful every day. How would it be if He did? What if He just showed up for 2 hours on Sunday? What if He showed up at Ledbetter from 10 to 12 every Sunday, 12 o'clock, He said, I'm out. Come on, Jesus, Holy Spirit, we're going to go play some golf. You know, everybody's on their own. Just whatever happens to them, it's, you know. No. That's not the God we worship. He's with us all the time, 24/7, every day. He's faithful to us. Are we faithful to Him? Or is it our faith something we just do on Sunday between 10 and 12? And God forbid that the preacher gets us out of there at 10:05 or 12:05, because that's overtime and I'm not getting paid, right? No, it's not about that. We have to be faithful. We have to be Iron Men. You know what Iron Man is? Everybody know what an Iron Man is? In sports, what's an Iron Man? Iron Man is somebody who shows up for work every day, right? Cal Ripken, they set the record for games played in a row. I think Brett Favre holds in the NFL for games played in a row without missing a game, no matter what your injury was or what life's bumps or bruises you get. You show up and you work. They're called Iron Men. And we need to be Iron Men of faith, Iron Men and women of faith. Both. We need to show up every day, ready to work, ready to do God's work out in the world. We need to exhibit that kind of faith. But it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to jump where you don't know you're going to land, isn't it? It's hard when God calls you someplace and you're not even really sure where you're going. Really? Am I on the right track? You got this, God? Are you sure you got it? You sure? Because it's not feeling like you got it. You got it? That takes faith, doesn't it? You know, the impala, the African impala, can jump 10 feet high and up to 30 feet in distance, which is amazing, isn't it? That's a long distance. Even I can't jump that far. Hard to believe, but even I can't jump that far. So that's a lot of distance. But you know, when you put them in a zoo, you can keep them encaged, not encaged, but contained with a 3-foot wall. Even though they're able to jump over that at any time that they would like, they don't. Because they won't jump where they can't see their feet landing. They don't have any faith that there's going to be ground on the other side of that 3-foot wall. So they let this 3-foot wall keep them a prisoner. How many of us are letting a 3-foot wall keep us prisoners? Keeping us trapped from doing what God would have us do because we're afraid to step out on faith. We're afraid to do what we can't see. What we might not totally understand. We're afraid to just step out there and say, I know you got this, God. You've called me to it. You know, if God's calling you to an uncomfortable place, you know it's God. Because we don't call ourselves uncomfortable places, do we? We don't ever say, hey, you know what you need to do? You get out of that lounge chair. We don't ever say that. We say stuff like, I'm blessing this lounge chair by being here. You know, that's the kind of stuff we say. But when God says you need to get out of that lounge chair and I got some work for you to do, you know that's God talking to you. Right? And we need to step out on faith. And it's one thing to say we're people of faith and sing these songs of faith, these great songs of faith. And it's another thing to live out your faith, isn't it? I mean, when the rubber hits the road, are we really faithful? Do we really live out our faith daily? Do we? Do we really trust that God's got this, that everything's going to be okay, that He'll... Ultimately, there's nothing that this world can do to us, because the worst thing in this world would be to what? Die. According to the world, the worst thing you can do is what? Die. Well, you can kill him. Well, God's already paid that price. Jesus already paid that price. The world can't kill you. You're going to live eternally. So what do you have to fear? Really? I mean, seriously, what do you have to fear? Yeah, but it's going to hurt when I die. Well, maybe it's going to hurt when you die. I don't know. I've never died before, so I don't know if it's going to hurt. Maybe I just be like me and just pray you go in your sleep. So I mean, but the reality is that the world has nothing to hold over your head if you live by faith. You don't need to be afraid of this election. You really don't. Because I can guarantee you, the day after the election, somebody will be elected. And whether you like them or not, the sun's going to come up. And it's going to be another day. It may not be the day you wanted, but it's the day you got. So you got to go on and live it, right? Regardless. I mean, you know, I see all these people, so people say, if so-and-so's elected, I'm leaving the country. Bye. That's more reason for me to vote for that person, because knowing that you're going to leave. But in all seriousness, I mean, the day is going to happen. But we have to be people of faith. We should not live in fear. Right? We need to live out our faith. You know, Ken Davis he's a comedian, he gave a great illustration of this, and he was talking about when he was back in school, that they had been challenged to give a presentation that was both creative, but would drive home the point to the students, that's something they could take away with them. And so his day came to present, he said, and he got up in front of the class, and he presented the law of the pendulum. Are you familiar with the law of the pendulum? You know that it starts at one point, and because of gravity and friction, it will not exceed, when it swings back, it will not exceed the point from which it was dropped, right? And then it will slowly slow down, and it will get a point of equilibrium where the forces are equal, and it will stop, right? That's basically the law of the pendulum. I'm no scientist or anything, but that's kind of the gist of it, so you know. So that's what he was presenting. So he went up there and he explained the law of the pendulum as best he could to the class, and then he took a top, you know, a kid's top, you know, spin top. He tied it to a string and a tack, and he put it on the bulletin board, and he dropped it from one level, and he marked it. And every time it would swing back, he would mark it with a pencil, and it would slowly decrease until it came to a stop, right? And he asked the class, do you believe in the law of the pendulum? And they was, good demonstration. Good. The teacher, yeah, that's good. He said, fantastic. And the teacher got up and started to come to the front of the class because he thought the lesson was over. And he said, I'm glad you stood up to volunteer. He said, come up here. I got one more thing to show y'all. And he put a chair on top of a table. And he asked the teacher to sit in the chair with his head against the cement wall. And then he went and he hooked a 250-pound weight to the beam that went down the center of the room on a rope. And he went back he pulled the weight back, and he went back to the teacher and he said, do you believe in the law of the pendulum? And the teacher said, yeah. He said, sweat was pouring off the teachers. He tells the story about the sweat pouring off the teacher's face. He said, okay. And he pulled it back an inch away from his nose, and he let it go. He said, you could hear the wind break as the weight swung across the room out. He said, as it swung back towards the teacher, that teacher dove off that table. And he asked the class, does he believe in the law of the pendulum? And the answer was no. You see, it's one thing to say you believe it, and it's another thing to live it out. It's one thing to say we believe in an awesome God who's in control of our lives and who loves us and only wants good for us. And it's another thing to live that out daily. To live out a life not filled with fear, but filled with faith. To not be trapped in that 3-foot enclosure and afraid to jump. Afraid to jump off that cliff and let that parachute open. Afraid to trust and to have confidence in an awesome God. You see, there's a difference between saying it and living it. And my hope for you is that you will jump. I don't know what God's calling you to. That's between you and God. He doesn't say, tell Ronnie to do. It doesn't work like that. But whatever he's talking to you about, you need to hear it. And you need to be faithful. And you need to answer that call. He may be telling you, you may be somebody who's never accepted Christ, and he's calling you. And every week you get up there and you hold on to that pew like this because you're like, I ain't going. Keep singing. One more verse of trust and obey is good. I'm not. Maybe that's you. Right? Or maybe he's just saying, we need prayer time. We need some alone time. You need to spend some time in my word. We need to spend some time getting to know each other better. I'm really kind of busy right now, God, but catch me over when it's 911 and I'm, woo, I don't know that scripture. I don't know what his call for you. Maybe he wants you to sing in the choir. Maybe he wants you to lead Bible study. Maybe he wants you to preach. I don't know. But I know he's got a plan for you. And my hope is that you'll jump. My hope is that you'll hear his call. And that you'll be faithful to that call. And that you'll just jump. And all God's people said, Amen.